Hello everyone, Hobbyist here, and I want to let you guys know something else about my life that I figured that I'd share with you guys. I very frequently like to dive into anime, for those of you who might not know. So, right now, I'm going to be releasing every now and then a review on a certain anime, whether it's my anticipations at the beginning, or right now I'm halfway through Naruto Shippuden, so I figured I might as well go ahead and give that review. When it comes to the two series, because of course you gotta watch Naruto before you watch Naruto Shippuden, it just makes sense from a chronological standpoint that this is something that you would do. But the thing that I liked about Naruto is that even though Naruto is classic, I always thought Naruto was too annoying in the very beginning, which is why I took so long to eventually get into this series. But I've made my way all the way through Naruto, and I'm about halfway finished with Naruto Shippuden. And I gotta say, so far, Shippuden I think is the way better show for comparing the two, just because I think the characters are taken more seriously, and there's a lot more maturity and depth in comparison to what's happened in the past. Because with Naruto, Zabuza was a compelling character, Gara was a compelling character, but other than that, you really didn't have anything in between those periods of time to where it was a villain that you could get invested into and being able to appreciate the journey that the heroes are going on. But with Shippuden, it goes full force, especially when you get inside the pain arc, into really pushing Naruto in ways that he hasn't normally been tested and all that sort of thing. And when it comes to the Pain arc, I think Pain is one of my favorite villains inside the show. Simply because not only is he an intimidating threat, but he's got a understandable reason to his own philosophy. But when it comes to the more secondary problem, when it comes to the whole quest with Naruto trying to find and bring Sasuke back to the Hidden Leaf, problem is that I haven't been invested in Sasuke since the very beginning. So I don't have any particular reason to care as to if they bring Sasuke back or not. Because the whole problem that I have is that his backstory does suck. That the Uchiha clan was massacred, and that it was his brother, and that eventually he learns that his brother was forced to be put in this predicament, but couldn't bring himself to killing his little brother. But when it comes to this whole dark, edgy angle that it comes with Sasuke's character right now, and this whole vengeance quest that he's been on against the Hidden Leaf, aside from a power difference at the current moment, I haven't been truly invested in Sasuke. When it comes to the quote unquote villains, I want to feel something from the villain, whether it's garnering sympathy, whether it is garnering disdain. Just to bring you guys an example, I watched JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Dio in Phantom Blood instantly pulls you in as being this villain that you do not want to like immediately. He is very despicable in this first show, and he does very despicable things. Sure, I'm comparing a completely different genre and tone and all of that, but the premise is that Dio stands out when he first shows up. You know that this is Dio. And the fact that Dio wins at the end of the first part is something that's interesting. But the more important part is that I feel invested in Dio and in JoJo beating Dio because it made me feel something with the villain. Because I didn't like Dio. I wanted Dio to lose. I want Dio to suffer all the pain he's caused and all that sort of thing. So I was invested in watching his downfall. Or sometimes it doesn't even necessarily have to be sympathy, or it doesn't have to be disdain. Inside of My Hero Academia, another anime that I've watched, Stain was always a very interesting character because he offered a very interesting concept. His whole ideology behind what it means to be a hero and should heroes deserve to be paid and recognized publicly, or should it only be the heroes who are solely intended on just benefiting others without any recognition to themselves. Hence why he idolizes All Might and says that he is the prime example, and that every other hero that doesn't meet the standard should die. Sure, it's very extreme, but in the context of that show, in the context of that story, it makes the most sense. And it offers an interesting question to where it's like, hold on, Stain's got a point. In fact, Stain's influence goes so far as to touch the League of Villains and the Paranormal Liberation Army, which is the next arc that we're getting into. And honestly, because of the My Villain Academia arcs and because of this touch on every single villain inside of the League of Villains in My Hero, has some sort of moment or quality to them that you can get invested in. You're invested in the villains just as much as you are the heroes. Because it's always either going to be garnering sympathy, disdain, or offers an interesting enough concept to where it really starts a discussion. It's a philosophical debate of the League of Villains were screwed over by the hero system. And through each of the individual backstories, we got to see that these villains have a point in everything that the heroes have done up to this point, which is why I enjoy My Hero Academia as much as I do. Not so much just because it's superheroes and it's heroes versus villains, but when the heroes have this humble journey and you want to root for them, but the villains are intriguing enough to where they offer an interesting concept or make you feel a certain way on an emotional level, this is when you get a good story. And I feel that with that back half of Naruto Shippuden specifically, that this back half with Sasuke, I mean, right now we're going into the fourth Great Ninja War arc, which I haven't seen yet. I plan on checking it out. Maybe there's several events in there that might change my mind. But when it comes to that specific conflict, and when it comes to Sasuke's character as a whole, and his whole motivations and turning to the dark side with Orochimaru and that sort of thing, I'm not particularly invested right now. Karin just seems like a Sakura replacement, but is just a stronger character overall, physically. And that Sasuke doesn't make me feel terrified of him. Sasuke doesn't make me hate him or sympathize with him, or doesn't make me feel like there's a deeper conversation to be had. Because when it comes to the Uchiha, and when it comes to, we were shown the Uchiha being massacred and Itachi and all of that, but I never got to spend enough time with the Uchiha in the beginning in order to grow attached to them, to grow invested into those, to where when Sasuke finally did lose them, that we got to see that character change. It was just always this cold, cool, edgy, second base character to the protagonist, which isn't anything wrong, because I think that Todoroki, again, going back to My Hero, does the very same thing. But at least with Todoroki's backstory and how he was abused because his father was essentially obsessed with trying to become the number one hero to where he damaged his own family in the process, we get to see how that affects him in his everyday life. We get to see the permanent consequences of everything that he's gone through and how it changes Shoto as a person. And especially how it changes over the course of both the anime and right now I'm also reading the manga. In fact, My Hero is probably one of the other animes that I've watched and went back and read the manga because it's just something that you get to see a whole lot of intrigue and you see the development come. And with Shippuden, I'm not seeing that development yet. Not with Sasuke, not with the Akatsuki. I'm not feeling anything. I could be wrong. I still have a whole 250 episodes left to where maybe the fourth Great Ninja War arc could change my mind. I'm very open to that idea. But right now, as it stands, I think that Naruto Shippuden past the Pain arc is really struggling when it comes to having good villains to put up against Naruto and the rest of his gang.